Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jadon with Mazda, and I'm here with the 2024 all-new CX-90 PHEV. Today we're going to go over some of the new features with this car and check out, is this going to be the next three-row crossover hybrid that you guys are going to want to consider. So let's get into it. So if we're looking at some things like styling from the front, it looks very similar to our 3.3 liter inline six. One of the main differences you're going to see, even though this is the top trim, this is still going to have the body molding here to it, which is going to be this black plastic adorned with some chrome finishes. I don't dislike it too much. On cars like the CX-30 it can be a bit of intrusive, but on here it's a nice integrated look. But with the CX-90, you know what everybody's excited about is the powertrain, right? So we know with these we have the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline four. I know a lot of people were thinking maybe this was going to be the turbo 4 from the 9, but no, this is going to be the naturally aspirated inline 4 from Mazda here. And they quote with the electric motor and the power of the engine, it's going to make about 323 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Now that is on premium gas. If you opt to go for the less expensive regular unleaded, then you're going to get about 319 horsepower, but the torque will be the same. And then going along with some fuel economy numbers, they say the motor by itself is going to average about 25 miles per gallon, but combined with the electric powertrain, we're going to get an output of about 56 mpg, which is pretty impressive for this vehicle. And then as far as the range on full EV, Mazda quotes on their website, Mazda USA, that it can do about 26 miles of full electric range. But I'll throw up a picture here. I did charge this one up to 100% and it was only showing me 21. So you're definitely going to need to get that out in the real world and see for yourself as far as what that can actually do, because that's still TBD, right? These are just so fresh. But let's just kind of get into some more styling here. Starting from the top down, this is going to have the same basic design as the CX-90 that we already seen. The main differences here, like I said, it's going to be in some of the body cladding here. So I do like the way they placed the chrome in here, and it's going to be a nice break up to that black trim, so it doesn't look too overwhelming here. Mazda does really good, and I think it looks amazing with this Rhodium White, which by the way is one of Mazda's Takumi paint, which is going to be a 3-layer stage paint. This specific paint was crafted so you can see the reflections in the surroundings, so it looks like it's, you know, in motion even though it's standing still. Obviously, since we're here on the roof, there's not much to reflect, but when you're in a nature setting, it does look pretty cool. If we move in towards the headlights here, we can see we have our DRLs right here. That's going to be integrated into our grille surround and followed by our full LED headlight here, which looks really nice. And then we can see the nice chrome that goes around there. I like how Mazda has gone with a more traditional look on their grille. They just kind of refined something that already looks really cool. And I like that, not overstyled. We can see this as the parking sensors all around, and then our 360-degree camera. And so it's finished in nice. If we're looking a little bit lower, we do get that front little diffuser there. We can scoop tons in there, air in there to cool down that powertrain. And then of course, we've got our functional little side vents right there. You can see hello on the other side, to help with some aerodynamics there, make that a little bit more efficient, and why this is going to be the leader as far as MPGs, you know, on the market. Moving on from the front a little bit to the side here, in our inline 6, this is going to be inline 6 here, but we can see it's stamped with PHEV on this specific model. I'm not fully convinced on that, but it looks better than in, let's say, a preferred plus trim, because those are just going to be full black plastic. At least this has some adornment with our chrome here. But I like how they've selectively done the chrome. It's not overdone. Okay, it's just on some small pieces like the bottom trim, and then on the trim around the main car here, which look really cool. And then just subtly up there, we have our roof rails, which obviously this is geared to be not only, you know, a comfort vehicle, but an all-encompassing view. You can do a lot of stuff with it. And if we check out a little bit further, we're going to check out the wheels, which are going to be the same wheels you're going to see on our Premium Plus models in our inline 6 turbos. So these nice 21-inch wheels. These are really nice. Black with the machine finish here, which looks cool. Tire size looking about a 275 on the width, a 45 series sidewall, which doesn't make these tires look really big, but I'm glad they went with a thicker tire for a little bit of a better ride. And obviously tucked in there, you guys can't see it, but we have our double wishbone suspension, which is going to be all new for the CX-90 multi-link in the rear. You pair that up with Mazda's all-new kinematic posture control, which they introduced last year on the Mazda Miata, which makes this big old car handle so well despite such a huge increase in the wheelbase here. The turn-in is really good, and this is a really responsive car as far as when you're handling. I say, guys, if you have a chance, go check one out at a local dealership. These are just such a fun time to drive. Some smaller details they did kind of go with here. On this lower chrome trim, it does say Mazda stamped out here. I like the way this looks. It's nice, it's simple, it's elegant, which is kind of the overall thought process, you know, when developing this vehicle. And as we're moving to the rear here, we're gonna check out our rear 3/4 angle and then a rear straight on. So I know Mazda quite haven't given in yet with the industry standard of throwing a light bar on there, but this is as close as you're gonna get, right? Probably about 3/4 of the way in of the length of the rear here. We can see Mazda's done our LED lighting, which they've been on for a while, which is really cool. No halogens, just all LED bulbs, and that's gonna be what's really cool about these. And along with that, we have our turn signals. That's gonna be flashing in that heartbeat pattern, which Mazda's been working on for a little bit since 2021, I believe, with the CX-30 was the first car to introduce that. And since we're back here, we're gonna go check out some of the rear style, well, not only the rear styling, but some effective bits. We can see on the bottom here, we are gonna have our parking sensors in the rear. This does have a 360 cam, and it's hidden right under there. That's your rear camera. And then we see stamped out on the back is eSkyActiv PHEV, because once again, this is gonna be the plug-in hybrid. We can check out the door, which is gonna be right here on this side. It does support our AC charging. You have a little hook that goes right up there, and it's pretty easy to access. The only thing I don't really like is just how massive this door is, because if you see the area where you have to charge it up, not that big, but the cutout for this thing is absolutely huge. I mean, like, here's my hand. I don't have small hands. You could probably fit 2 of my hands on there. That's a really huge door. Not sure why they went with that, but nonetheless, it is there. And then moving a little bit further south still, we're gonna get that chrome accent on the bottom because we have no exhaust outlets. They are pointed down in these models. So if you kind of go underneath there, then you could probably catch a good look about your exhaust, and they're hidden, which has the benefits, right? So of that, you're not gonna get any of that, the nasty exhaust residue that you would see on your exhaust pipes. You know, over time that you know, it creeps up on your body, and it's kind of hard to get out if you just kind of let this sit there for a while. So there is an advantage to that. But while we're back here, let's go ahead and check out the trunk space and see what we're looking like. So here we are in the back. Let's go ahead and open up our trunk here, because this does have a power lift gate. It does have the hands-free too if you want to kick it open. So size-wise, this is actually going to be the same size trunk as the regular CX-90, which is pretty cool. You would think they might have compromised a little bit on the trunk space, but no, this is still going to be, you know, all the normal space that you would typically get in the CX-90. And if we up that, obviously you can see down here we have a spot for our charger, and that throws in there. And then underneath here we have our spare tire like normal, and it just goes down pretty easy, right? And then of course, if you need even more space than you already have, just pull the little straps here on the back. Easy as a 1-2, throw your seats down, and then of course you have even more space, and you can throw those 2 additional bench captain's chairs down if you want to as well. We finished checking out the rear. Let's go ahead and head to the front here and check underneath the hood of this CX-90 and see what we have going on the business side of things. So here we are underneath the hood of the CX-90 PHEV, and then off the bat, what you're gonna notice, we have a different graphic here. We have eSkyActiv PHEV, which I actually like the look of that. That looks a little bit nicer, finished that in aluminum. Compared to the CX-90, the regular inline 6, it adds a little bit of flair there. But under here, when you open it up, you're just gonna notice one thing, just how much space there is. So we twist our little 2 things here, and of course we have our pinch pull that we can throw up, and that holds right there. And then you can see just a huge amount of space here, about at least 1.5 feet of space. And of course, because they did decide to mount this longitudinally instead of transversely and push back, so this, you can see here is our front axle. So if we're really being technical, this is technically a mid-engine configuration here, but of course we know that is for weight distribution and things like that. The inline 4 that we all are very familiar with, we can see everything is nice and neat and tidy. Mazda just refined this. So the engine by itself, they've massaged it to make about 189 horsepower. and then 192 pound-feet of torque paired with that electric motor that makes 173 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque. Obviously, when you add those numbers together, you're going to get the 323 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of total maximum output with this thing when you're using it in your hybrid modes. But of course, you can throw it into a full EV. If you guys are wondering the size of this motor, that's going to be a 68 kilowatt hour motor, and how that is in the transmission. Since this is a new 8-speed, it's going to be one clutch, the motor, the electric motor, and then another clutch. So it's kind of sandwiched in between the two to make for more of an easy design, as well as taking out a few less mechanical parts of it to make it a little bit easier to maintenance. And as far as longevity, these are going to be a little bit better than our. But yeah, that is your under the hood technical look at the CX-90 PHEV. Nothing brand new with this motor here. They just tuned it to be a bit more efficient. But I just like the placement of here. You guys will notice when we go on a drive just how much that affects the handling, because once again, since it's riding on that premium platform, we want it to be handling good and feeling good in every trim, not just in our inline sixes. So we've checked out everything on the outside. Let's go ahead and hop on the inside and check out what our main difference is here. But first, we're going to check out a smaller thing, our door opening and close sound. So we're going to open that up. We hear a little chiming because I got to press some buttons, but let's take a listen. Sounds pretty solid. Let's get it one more time. And pretty solid. Let's check the back and see what they're doing. Hopefully it's the same. We'll go ahead and unlock this. Open it up, and then let's give it a good shot. Yep, sounds pretty solid, which it might go underappreciated, but in a vehicle of this price range coming in at $58,000, you expect top-notch quality. All right, guys, so here we are on the inside of the 2024 CX-90 PHEV. Let's go ahead and turn this thing on. So we have a little power button right here. We get our little startup animation. CX-90 looks really cool there. And you can see it's starting up in EV mode. You can actually have it set to kind of however you want, but this has EV priority mode right now. So every time it'll turn on, it'll be automatically in EV mode. So we can check that out here. We can see right down there, because we have driven it a little bit, it has 19 miles remaining of a full EV range. So we'll see how that is in the real world. But just talking design here, we can see nice leather wrap steering wheel with a nice cross stitch. Going to be a black. Accents are really cool. And then a nice aluminum bezel here. I really like this steering wheel design. It's pretty simple as far as ergonomics, and it feels really good in your hand. Of course, this one, we are going to have the heated steering wheel here. But once again, with Mazda, it's only going to be this section right here. So up to here, but our lower portion and our upper portion, you're not going to get that heated steering wheel, which is a little bit of a bummer because, you know, sometimes, you'll hold your hand down here or up here and you kind of wish you had it all around. But other than that, let's go ahead and move on to some other styling cues. To the door, we can see that has our nice woven pattern here with an aluminum trim going on. And then our black leather once going on. Nice plush armrest here. And of course, an orange cross stitch, which I think looks pretty good. Adds some nice character, or bronze, however you want to call it. And you can see the same design here fall into the vents for black with our bronze accent and then our aluminum piece for adjusting that, which I think is a nice touch they added. And you can see that design follows into the dash here, and we'll see on the other side where that comes out. Of course, soft touch leather on all materials, and then our our dark brown piping that goes along the middle, and then our brown cross stitch. And the same design flows, and we can see it really nicely with the seats. And I'm a big fan of these Napa leather seats. Not only are they really comfortable and supportive, but the design is really cool. The nice cross stitching with our bronze accent that goes down the middle. Now I want to say they got that from a CX-50, but they've improved upon it here. Pretty comfortable as far as, sitting long term. I've sat in these for a good amount of extended periods of time, and they are really comfortable to sit in. Going on to the dash here and some accessibility. In this Premium Plus trim, we're going to get heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats. You are going to get heated in the second row. You don't get the cooled seats quite in the PHEV models for the second row, which sucks, but not a huge deal. Our nice cheap wireless charger here. And our cup holders, which are hidden. You press your little button and that opens on up. And same thing if you want to close it. And what everybody is really appreciative of, no more piano black, which is going to be amazing. The reflectiveness is kind of a bug. Long term with the scratches, that gets it gets bad. But this the flat black is going to do much better. We can see our MI drive mode selectors. So with these, we have our EV mode, which we're in. We have normal, a sport mode. You can see it'll kind of change the way the gauges look, give it a little bit of more of aggressive stance. And then off-road mode here, we'll see what that looks like. Give us a little bit of a cog design. What we don't see pictured is our tow mode, because these tow up to about 3,500 pounds. You will get that option available if you have the tow hitch with the wiring harness, and then that's when you'll get your option for that. But we'll go ahead and flick it into EV mode for now, just to kind of take a look at that, which is what everybody's main focus in. Going on to the shifter, I know a lot of people had some questions about this, and it is a little bit of a funky design. Rather than your traditional, you're just going to pull it back. This is going to be, you move it over to the right and then down, and that puts us in drive here. You'll see once we do that, it activates our 360 see-through cam, which is pretty cool. You can change whether you want it to be your regular or your ultra wide, so you can see a little bit more. And then obviously to the right, we have our top down look here, and that's pretty cool. Moving on to a bigger piece is going to be our Mazda infotainment. So this is going to be the upgraded 12-inch display paired with our 12-inch digital display, which looks really cool here. This actually does not have the driver recognition system, so that's where there's a little camera in there, recognize the driver, moves everything to your seat. But we are still going to get memory seats in this for driver 1 and 2, so that's not a huge deal. You can see we have our trunk popper button over there. But this is going to be very familiar to current Mazda owners here. So we'll see the regular looks as far as nav and things like that. We can hop into our nav and you can see how that looks, and then we can go home. I know most people's big thing with this is how you're going to control it. This is your center dial down here. So Mazda does not want you using this thing while you're driving as a touchscreen. They really emphasize the fact that they don't want that. However, there is a little bit of a workaround if you go into the settings. So when you're using CarPlay, then you are able to use it as a touchscreen, but that stops when you are in motion. So what you can do is, if we go home and then go into our settings here, we'll go all the way down into our connectivity settings. You go to Bluetooth, and we're gonna go to our devices. We have Jadon, because that's me. All you have to go is all the way down. You see touchscreen in motion for all devices. We're gonna select that, and you say blah, 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 distracted driving can lead to an accident. You press OK, and then now, if we go over to our CarPlay, and when we're driving, then full time we'll be able to use it as a touchscreen, but only with CarPlay, not Mazda standard nav. But you know, once again, that's kind of better than nothing at all. And you know, you really appreciate the smaller things. Taking a look at Mazda's full digital LED display here, first time ever. It's going to look really cool. We can see on the left we have our power and our charge for our EV mode for the battery. On the right side, we can see at the bottom here 19 miles, that's our EV range, and then 370, that's your combined EV and gas range. Mazda quote says you get about 490 miles on a full tank using your hybrid system here, but obviously once you get your first drive out, then the numbers will adjust accordingly. Bottom right, you can see our fuel gauge, and on top of that, our electric range. Now they quote these two as far as charging times. If you have the level 2 charging, that's going to take about an hour and a half to charge all the way. And if you have the level 1 charger, then that's going to take upwards of 8 hours to charge that to full capacity. So here we are in our second row. We're going to check out some second row amenities here. So checking out the door, this is going to have the same cool design that you're going to see in the front, with tons and tons of storage in this door, by the way. Like, you can fit 2 huge, like 1 liter Fiji water bottles in here, and of course some seat back. We do get our little peasant blockers here, so that goes up and in and blocks out the sunshade, even though these have privacy tint from the factory. Down here we have our air vents with our 2 USB illuminated Type-C outlets, heated seats, and our AC vent controls. We can change where that's coming, our face or head, and of course the temperature, which is pretty cool. And then in between us, we are going to get these cup holders that just kind of drop down. And I know a lot of people wish, you know, they were up here, but I do like the convenience here of having a clear space if you need it to be for the pass-through to walk, which is pretty cool. If you have kiddos in the back, they don't have to necessarily put the seats down to get to the third row there. But as far as the seating design, going to be the same as the chairs in the front, because this is the captain's chairs. This particular configuration is a 7-seater, so we have 2, 2, and then 3 in the third row, so you're going to maximize space. And then we have these nice armrests here that change to a fixed position depending on where you want them, and they just don't kind of flop around, which is pretty cool. One thing that's pretty apparent is kind of the space in here. So I have the driver's seat set to where I would be comfortable, and I come in about 6'1". Tons of feet room here, tons of knee room, and you can take a look right here. I mean, I've got a couple inches of the headroom there, which is not actually affected at all by this panoramic moonroof, which you think it would be. So yeah, over the CX-9, definitely a great amount of leg room here. I really like the improvement that they've done for this. And of course, a big question is, how is the room in the third row? So if we pull the arm here, or sorry, the shoulder, we can push that forward, and then we can hop in relatively easily. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look here. You actually do have different levels of how far you can put this thing back. But if we're just talking about the feet room, you gotta be like, I just come close as far as the width here in the track of the seat. So you probably would have to sit something like this unless you have a middle passenger. But if you're by yourself, then you could probably make it work like this. But if we go ahead and grab our seat here and move it back, we can see we have a little bit of knee room. But of course, this is not with the seat all the way back. We have the seat all the way back right here. So we can go ahead and take a look what that would be like. And you can see we're just kind of struggling to get in here. Now with that third row or second row all the way back, knees right up the seat here. But the good thing is it is adjustable. So you can move depending on how tall your third space occupants are. And you can have an ample amount of room. And the biggest thing here, headroom is greatly improved compared to the CX-9. Definitely tons of headroom. So theoretically, in a long road trip back here, I would be okay, or any full-size adults. And they're taking care of you. You're gonna get USB-Cs back here with nice vents, so you guys are not forgotten about. And it is actually quite comfortable back here. You have a nice little armrest with 2 cup holders on both sides. So for all your extra large drinks that us Americans love, fit in there just fine. A very large rear quarter window here, and you can see a lot out to your passengers here entertain. And then part of this Bose 12 speaker audio system, you have our speakers back here, which is pretty cool. With the second row as well, you do get some adjustment as far as the level of reclining. So you just pull this tab right here, and you can see you can go pretty far back. So you'll see this is the max recline level here, and it gets pretty far back compared to the normal seat. Or if you guys wanted to put it up, you can put it up, but you do have adjustable levels there. So we might have skimmed over this a little bit earlier, but you actually do get a 120 volt outlet here in the trunk, household style, to plug in your laptops, and of course a regular cigarette lighter. But you don't get one, but 2, you get one on the other side as well. So that's some nice usability. And then our AC power there, you can turn that on with the click of a button there, which is pretty cool. And of course you can drop that down, power lift gate, and that shuts nice and easy. All right guys, so we've seen all there is to see with this CX-90. Only thing left is to go on a drive. So let's go. All right guys, so here we are behind the wheel of the 2024 CX-90 plug-in hybrid here, and we're gonna get our initial driving thoughts. So I'd say the biggest thing off the bat compared to the standard CX-90 is just how quiet the ride is. So the CX-90 already had a pretty quiet ride, but obviously in this EV mode, all we're gonna hear is the motor under some light acceleration. But here we are maintaining speed, and we're not hearing much of anything. A big thing I was probably concerned about coming into this was kind of a gain of weight. CX-90 base coming about 4,800 pounds, and in this plug-in hybrid we are at 5,200 pounds, so just a bit heavier here. So we're going to see how that's going to affect the driving dynamics as far as handling, because we know this is going to have that same double wishbone in the front, multi-link in the rear, partnered with that kinematic posture control. And just to touch on that again, guys, kinematic posture control is going to be that rear outside wheel braking to help reduce body rolls in the turns here, and it does a pretty good job. Now I can say off the bat, just sitting here driving it, the steering wheel, as far as the precision, it's still pretty sharp. You definitely do feel the extra weight. In EV mode, because that's what we're in right now, full EV mode, it seems to be handling it just fine. And that's what it's going to be when you need those short commutes. Maybe you don't feel like spending some gas. You just need to get from point A to point B. This is going to do it. And it doesn't feel like it struggles to power the SUV at all. I've been putting it on there, and it's real still maintaining full EV mode. And obviously to charge that battery, they have regenerative braking, and you can select how aggressive you want that. It's not quite on the EV level where you can do one pedal driving, It's not that aggressive, but it's just aggressive enough. So, you know, if you want to do some light coasting, it'll go ahead and help out with that as well. As we kind of come to a stop here, we can hear all the mechanisms at work when we get back going. You can kind of hear a little whirring going if you really listen. And it's overall pretty quiet, right? What you'd expect from the EV mode. So far, I'm pretty impressed. What we're gonna do here is take it into the hybrid mode. So we have our MI drive down there, and I'm just gonna take it and flip it into normal here. So the engine just turned on. I don't know if you guys heard that there. And seamless transition, right? So how this works is there is in the transmission, this new 8-speed, there's a clutch pack, and then there's an electric motor in between another clutch pack for a simplified design, easy maintenance. Wow. As far as how that converts to drivability, it's very user-friendly. You can hear the engine start up, but you can't feel a noticeable difference when you're driving, which is the good thing, right? Main thing people were wondering is like, hey, is this thing gonna be like clunky? And I heard like early on with some of the CX-90s, they were having some problems with the second gear there. But it seems that well, from what I can tell, they've sorted out some of those earlier issues here. As we come to a stop though, we're gonna get a real sense of the EV powertrain. Just how quick can we get a 0 to 60? So we're gonna pull it in full EV mode here. Come to a complete stop. And it's off. And that's 60. So that took quite a bit of time. I didn't time that, but somebody down in the comments definitely probably could have done that for you. Definitely not the quickest thing in the world, but once again, 5,200 pounds. So your whole goal here isn't necessarily going to be quickness with this, more or less efficiency. Obviously, your aim out to this is get the best you can get with that hybrid powertrain. Well, I just flipped us into sport mode here. So we're gonna go ahead and check out how good the acceleration is. We're gonna step on it in 3, 2, 1. And you can hear that's very vocal, definitely revs out. And like that, we're at 60. So that thing is pretty quick. The instant torque from the battery paired with some brake boosting there just really helps to get this thing off the line pretty quickly there. So I'm impressed with the hybrid powertrain so far. So as we're driving along here, say we are down to a low charge, they have this button here is for your charge target. So if you trigger that, we can change where we're at, and that'll put us in the charge mode using more of engine braking, regenerative braking, things like that to go ahead and charge up that electric battery here. But just gonna give it one more step on it. That 2.5 was I liked it. So yeah, very responsive. It definitely feels like boost that you're getting, like you would get from your Skyactiv G turbo engines, but obviously from the boost from the motor there. And without any lag, I'd say this is all upside. So far, pretty impressed. Going into some handling here, using both the engine and the battery pack. Let's see how this is gonna handle. And it definitely feels like we're still carving through like we're normal and we're used to. And we're just overall really impressed with that. But of course, not only is this gonna handle well, but you're gonna get a lot of active safety, right? So you got things like blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, lane departure warning. In this Premium Plus trim, we're gonna get automatic front braking, automatic rear braking as well, which is really, really helpful. You guys don't see a pedestrian, cyclist, anything like that. This car's gonna go ahead and automatically apply the brakes to avoid a collision, which is pretty cool here. Another cool thing you get here in the PHEV, or just in a CX-90 in general, is your heads-up display. We can see that it's gonna show a couple of things. We have active safety, things like lane keep assist, or speed, and then we have the posted speed limit here. What's also really cool is they have this thing called traffic sign recognition. So if there's something like a yield or a stop sign coming up, that's gonna show up through there as well, which is really cool. All right guys, and that was the review of the 2024 CX-90 plug-in hybrid. Let me know what you guys think. Is this one that you guys are going to be strongly considering as we move towards electrification? Seems the world's going to want it to happen by 2030, but I think this is a nice introduction that Mazda has done with a nice blend of drivability as well as efficiency and a little dash of performance. If you guys want any more content on the CX-90, any Mazda, just leave a comment below and I'll be sure to get it. Until the next time.